This is Gokul. I'm a professional industrial designer and I've been working for 4 years now. Let's do the Portfolio Pinup.
You don't have necessarily industrial design, it says interdisciplinary designer. What do you mean by that?
I don't want to term myself as an just one-dimensional designer. I like to be part of the graphic design. I like to be part of the marketing team. I would like to also be part of the user experience team, CMF, all of these things. So that's why I wanted to term myself as more like an interdisciplinary designer, have more dimensions to my work.
When I look through your portfolio, it seems like each and every project has its own specific targets. Like for example, this one here is a more of a CMF type of a portfolio piece.
Yeah.
It's taking the Nothing phone, creating some minor changes to it, adding a little bit of tactical, adding a little bit of extra colors that they haven't really done yet, and visualizing it. So tell me a little bit about this portfolio piece, some of the things that maybe I could be missing.
Absolutely. So this was a piece that's very close to my heart because this was the time during when I was working with this architecture company, right? I was pretty much bored with designing furniture, lighting, and I wanted to get into some kind of consumer electronics and consumer goods. That's when Nothing announced their community edition project. Then I immediately participated in it. They were looking out for a new community edition phone that was designed by the community. So I went up and took up the challenge for the hardware design. I thought, the Nothing phone did a great job with the rear designs, unlike any other phones that looks like, I wouldn't call a brick of aluminum brick, but at least they're lacking some kind of an emotion. So I thought, let me kind of, create a more abstract version of the existing phone by, distorting the rear. How do I distort it? So I thought, let me bring in the fluted glass effect. So that's when that was already there on their Nothing wallpapers. I was very fascinated by their wallpapers again. Very interesting, very abstract. I thought, let me, bring that back onto the phone. As a community edition, that they're gonna sell only 1,000 edition. I thought that should stand out. That should spark. That's when I used this tint of green that's fluorescent. I call it Lumina Lime, which is very striking and it's more of an attention seeker. So that's what I wanted this phone to do.
So how did you end up going about creating these renders? Did you model the Nothing phone yourself? Did you find it online and then you applied your CMF?
Yes, I found this phone by Robson Renders. He helped me with the renders. I did, this is what Instagram does to you. You meet people, you collaborate with people. And then I asked Robson to, provide his Nothing phone model. I used it because I had a very little timeline. I would have loved to model it, but I had just 4 to 5 days to take part in the competition, and I modeled it. I did the minor changes, added the colors. Yes, that's what I did with the renders. And I was, I'm honored to be part of the winners. I was the first runner up.
This turned out really nice. I think the fluting of the plastic makes an interesting look on top of just a color change. What I would like to see is when you have a CMF page, normally you want to really highlight that. And so just calling out every single part that you did. So even with the border, that could be anodized aluminum. So those are the things that really specifies every single part of your design. Like even though you decided to have the green color, but you made the button still black. So these are the little things that I would want to see if it is a CMF project.
Right.
So that could just be an extra page where it really just calls out the CMF of every single part. Okay, and then it looks like it moves on to the next portfolio piece. So just kind of give me a rough overview on this one here. Is it a professional one or is it a one of those conceptual?
This was a self-initiated project, but it's not merely concept. But I think I have developed a working prototype of it, which I haven't showed over here. But it is manufacturable. So I just chose the hypothetical clients Lamy and Dior. I thought these luxury products, luxury category, are lacking functional aspects, right? As an industry. So I thought let's combine these both and come up with a product. That's when this idea came. How about having a pen, a beautiful art piece kind of a pen that has a very beautiful function of lighting itself when you cap it up at the back. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
it's from that principle of completing the circuit like a tester that you use on a plug-in. So it's very similar to that.
Why did you decide to select a pen as a conceptual project to explore?
Yep, I love this stationaries. Stationaries are one of those one of those products that people use on daily basis, right? And I think they need to have some kind of an emotive quality to it, more like a desire, right? And I thought that would be a very good category to, conceptualize.
Yeah, and so far we started off with a CMF phone, so consumer electronics, color material finish, and then it jumps into stationery. Later, we're going to see a shoe, a bag.
I think as a designer, it's going to be really hard if you're targeting specific companies. If you want to land up in some kind of furniture company or some kind of a consumer electronic company, this portfolio wouldn't really be convincing for them. But I think as a designer, I wanted to express all kind of skills that I have, all kind of interests that I have. And as an industrial designer, you have opportunity to design from a pin to an aeroplane, right? So
Mhm.
that's what I have in my mind, and that's why I have a diverse kind of works.
Very, very diverse. So, what are you using to build this 3D model here?
I use Rhino to 3D model, and I use Keyshot to
Mhm.
visualize it.
Now, are those pretty industry standard in India?
It is, it is. People do ask Fusion 360 and Blender, but I
Mhm.
feel Keyshot does a pretty much very good job.
So, Fusion 360 for 3D modeling, and
Yes.
then Blender for rendering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keyshot and Rhino, did you learn those in school or did you pick those up yourself after you graduated?
I picked up Keyshot myself. Rhino was, however, taught in school for about a month, and then we had to use it on the in the courses. But however, like I
Hmm.
said, my course was pretty hands-on, intensive work. Wasn't much of a software dealing. So I would probably call it Rhino. Also, I learned it by myself.
I always hear students say, I wish they taught me this in school. I wish they taught me that in school. Now, after being graduated for and working in the industry for a couple years, is there any of this that you're thinking of now? Do you wish they would have shown you something in school that you think would have been very beneficial?
Probably that one extra year of foundation just to understand what design is, the history of design, that wasn't there. And probably I wouldn't blame them because it's a 3-year program, right? So probably I should probably have taken the 4-year program. But otherwise, there's nothing that I can, really complain about, really ask for. The schooling was really great, and I think they did their part really well. You know,
Hmm.
I feel with the tool wise, I think you will have to pick up by yourself. They're not going to spoon feed you. You will have to learn as a faculty, as a design professors. I think they'll have to come and share their experiences, but not teach you skills.
I mean, a 3 year program is quite short. Mine was a 5 year program.
Wow.
So generally, that's a year extra than a normal 4 year, which is what the standard is in
Hmm.
the US. I think this portfolio piece is very nice. You have some incredible shots. These are like very advertisement type of shots, beauty shots. This reminds me of the luxury brand, which is what it's designed for. I think what this is lacking though is since it is a branded project. So the first one is the color material finish, and this one is more of a branded project. I think that another added page somewhere initially at the beginning of this portfolio piece, just taking a look at what Dior is, study their brand language. Same with Lamy. If you are really highlighting these brands, it's really good to just show a little bit of research on the things that they're known for. I think that since it's such a high-end product, to see just the regular type of batteries like this, it generally isn't a very good user experience. So
Right.
your battery runs out, you have to unscrew it, I imagine, take it apart. All these little circular puck batteries are falling out. You have to orientate it in the right direction to make sure it works. I'm sure everybody at some point in time inserted a battery wrong orientation, and so it doesn't work, and they have to take it apart, flip it around, and do it all over again. For batteries that use something like this, you have to make sure every one of them is in the proper orientation. There's a lot of little things to fiddle with, and so I personally just imagine that somebody who's buying such a high-end expensive pen
Hmm.
would really see using batteries like this as more of like a cheap kind of engineering China type of brand
Mm-hmm.
rather than something that is very sleek and minimal. I'm just thinking about something like an Apple Pencil, the ones that you use on an iPad. You could
Mm-hmm.
just slap it onto the iPad. It wirelessly charges. You don't have to deal with batteries or even a cable. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think just having some kind of an aspect like that, maybe it's like a dock, like it's a little dock that you can set the pen in. It displays the pen in kind of like a trophy or a very art kind of a piece. And also at the same time it charges the pen itself, so you never have to think about charging it. So just something like that really elevates the product and puts it into the category of, I think, where Dior would fall. So the next one here, it's jumping into a shoe. I know shoes are just very difficult to 3D model. The first one we saw was a phone. It's flat, pretty straightforward, lots of extrusions. Second one was a pen, so same thing, lots of extrusions. But a shoe, it takes a lot of surfacing and understanding form and organics and curvature. How was it for you to build out something like this?
Oh yeah, this was the first time I was, getting into this complex surfaces, right? So I did really struggle, but I was pretty much happy with the results. You know, this is
Mm-hmm.
not merely a shoe, but a sock that has a sole to it, right? That
Mm-hmm.
was the concept. That was more like a trend that was following. Like Gen Zs usually wear their socks with their sandals. So that was the idea to come
Mm-hmm.
up with a sock shoe kind of a thing where you can wear both
Mm-hmm.
indoor and outdoor. That was the idea.
When you were coming up with this idea, was there any other products that you were referencing? I think some of these are actual images of products. These are
No,
the ones
these
that you were kind of
no,
taking inspirations from.
no. These were the ideation phase that I did with the help of Viscom.
What was your process like using Viscom?
So I came up with the sketch. I had to immediately visualize it, whether it's going to look out really good in terms of visuals, in terms of how the soul's going to attach to the sock. That was the overall idea. And then I started sketching,
Mm-hmm.
did a thumbnail sketch, put it out, and then started. You were right. So I was looking at some references from the Nike models, the Nike boots, the
Mm-hmm.
neon boots, and I was also looking at this Balenciaga naked shoes, all of those things. So I just fed them as a reference points, and then
Mm-hmm.
started playing around with Viscom.
And for those who haven't used Viscom yet, was it pretty easy for you to start from the basic sketch to coming out with a almost finished looking render?
I still struggle with Viscom because I don't have a Wacom. I still struggle with the Viscom, at least drawing directly in their artboard because I don't have a Wacom. But what I do is I first sketch it on a paper, I upload it, I clean up all the extra lines, and then start fading. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that way it's very easy. It's very user friendly.
And did you end up using the paid version of Viscom, or were all of these from the basic free version?
This was from the basic free version, but however, I won the paid version from them with my last project that was Reverie, the furniture project. So I got the second prize again, and they had to offer me a 2 year subscription. So which I'm really happy
Oh,
about.
yeah, very cool. And do you think you can get away with just the basic free version, or do you think getting the paid version is totally worth it?
It's totally worth it because you get to play around with create multiple ideations, and also you get to unlock all the pro features like the video, image to video model, all of those stuff. I think it's pretty sick to really
Mm-hmm.
explore that. I think
Mm-hmm.
I would 100% recommend all the creative enthusiasts to just go ahead and start exploring AI, man. That's also reducing my time, my execution time. It gives me more of on thinking right now. I just have to visualize it now, and I just have to probably have a AI assistant or sites start, feeding my ideas, and I think I'll get my execution done, at least for the
Mm-hmm.
presentation, at least on the presentation front of view, right? Point of view. So I think that's really going to help all the designers.
And what are you using to put together a page like this? Is this Photoshop? Is this an image that you took on Google and you photoshopped on top of? How did you make a slide that looks like this with the tape and the sticky notes and all of these things here?
And just using AI to do this. I'm just asking the image models to help me with a presentation for my sketches because I love I love presenting my sketches because I know your sketches sometimes get ugly, but it's up to you to how to present it, how to market it, right? So I feel a ugly sketch presented in a very beautiful way would be far more convincing than a beautiful sketch just put on top.
Wow, very cool. So AI made this.
Yes, yeah, I made this. I know. I
Wow,
had the same
very.
reaction. I had the same reaction when I did this.
Yeah, I mean, it turned out really great. It was very hard for me to tell because it does look very like real almost, like it's almost like you did it, but then it does have that
Yeah,
10% like synthetic look to it. And so
absolutely.
it was, yeah, I was trying to figure out how did you make something like this?
Right.
And then it looks like a final shot.
Yes.
You're ending with this top view, very graphical look, pattern type of a look.
Mhm.
What is your thought process using this kind of asterisk icon here? Because it seems like I've noticed seeing that throughout your whole portfolio so far.
I thought that will act as a connecting note throughout the portfolio. I thought it'll act as a common note between all the pages. And as this could also become my brand language in future. I'm just figuring out a more graphic kind of icon for myself. Would be a refined
Mm-hmm.
version, but probably I'll have something very similar to this. And I'm very fond of flowers and stuff, so I really like having that throughout my portfolio. And it also acts as
I
a very
see.
good graphical element.
Yeah, and I could tell that you are very graphically savvy. It seems like all of your pages are very well laid out. You have a strong typography type of a style to all of your page layouts. Sometimes I feel like it could be a little bit too much.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I just want to sink my teeth into the design, see the design nice and big, with very few call outs. But I think you're very strong when it comes to graphics, having all of these different elements, and you laid it out all in a very nice and pleasant way. And so I think that's a very strong skill of yours. And I think the trick is to really just kind of subtle it down, only maybe keep it to a few pages. And then some pages, I think this is a better one, where it's less graphics and it's more of showing the product itself. And potentially it would be also cool to just see a whole page where it's just blown up and just showing an image, if I can zoom up to it, just like that.
Mhm.
So tell me about this portfolio piece here. This one is a conceptual project or a professional?
This was a professional project that I was part of in the initial phases of the design. However, this
Mm-hmm.
design has been completed by another fellow industrial designer, but I was part of the initial ideation phase. Finalizing the phase. So
Mm-hmm.
the credits completely doesn't come to me, but I'm really proud that I was part of this phase, directing the product, to a certain level, and then living up to the other designer to take it over.
Did this project end up being hit the markets? Was it sold?
Yes, yes, it is. It is in market and it's already on sale.
What is curious to me about this one is how this interlocking mechanism works. So I
Mhm.
might be confused, but essentially it looks like there's some sort of a kind of camera lens and how it connects to a camera. It seems like a
Yes,
very similar mechanism
very similar, but
where
very smooth
you
as well.
where you insert it in and then and you rotate it and it locks into place. I have a couple questions. How does this ring actually attach to the device? I imagine this above is the laptop, yeah, it's the laptop. And so, is that like glued on? Is that, using mounting tape? How is that attached on?
It's been mounted onto it with a specialized mounting tape that has two different strength on both the side. So the top
Hmm.
has a less strength, whereas the bottom has the very strong, mounting. So in that case,
Hmm.
it gets stuck easily. So, so the tape that's there, the stronger one sticks to the ring, and the one that is more lighter sticks to the laptop. So that's how it
Hmm.
is being used. So it's pretty much not very hard for you to remove that tape from the laptop, but it's going to be a little hard for you to remove from the ring.
I imagine that eventually you would want to have that ring be removed uh, at some point in time, for example, it is attached to the underside of the laptop, and so it creates some
A
sort of a
bump.
thickness under the laptop, a bump
Yes.
that doesn't sit flush and flat. And so
Hmm.
if you do use the laptop without the portfolio, without the folio, it'll increase the height of your laptop. And so I think the actual prototype looks like it works.
Hmm.
This image right here, but I think this render,
Hmm. This
it
is
looks potentially like a older, or maybe it's wrong. So the reason why I say that is because the teeth here that
right.
insert into the
Right.
slots are should be flipped, and so
Right.
you should have that gap that's above.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that was one of the first thing I noticed.
Hmm.
And since this is such a close-up kind of highlight of
Hmm.
the mechanism,
Hmm.
I think this should be fixed. So the first thing that I noticed about this shot here was how large his pants were.
Right. Right.
Yeah. How did you make these shots here? Are they like 3D models?
I
They're
think
so similar to each other.
they're still AI.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Tell me about your thought process when it comes to these graphics. Like, are you referencing something to think about, I'm going to bold these, I'm going to make these thinner, I'm going to place it on the top left, and then have some vertical text on the left here, and then some text on the right? Like, just can you talk through some of the thought process you're going through as you're laying out a page and laying out some of these graphical textual elements?
Absolutely. Jimmy, I thought that the portfolios, the young professionals, as well as students, it's pretty much standardized, So I thought, let me just be a little unconventional and make it look more like a fashion page. So that was the overall idea. Like these fashion blogs, fashion pages, fashion magazine have bold text out there and they have the products. So that was overall inspiration for me, and all of it came from that.
What kind of font are you using?
Here I'm using Mark Pro, a sans serif font.
And this portfolio piece here, when I was looking at this, number one, I was, confused on what it was. And so I did have to spend my time to read this. But for somebody who's kind of just flipping through your portfolio really quick, not spending time to read every single piece, what is this portfolio piece? What is this product for?
We were building one of a kind bag where the bag didn't have a zip but had a dial to open it, and it had a retractable strap mechanism, and it was made up of reinforced with a shell, and had a luxurious fabric wrapped around it. So people were really anxious about what they were buying, so we wanted to send out the abstract piece about the product, and we had to compose a sample of a product that fits in their palm, that acts as a sovereign, act as an art piece that can lay on the table. That's when we came up with composing all the key elements from the bag, be it the dial, be it the slider that we have used, be it the fabric and the mechanism, the parts that have been used. So we composed it very abstractly, and that could also fit in your hand ergonomically, and people can fidget around it. That was the overall idea, so that people order their bags and don't wait in anxious anxiety. That was the overall idea. So and it was a hit. People did like it. People did like the overall idea of we delivering them like a $20 pre-order token.
And was this images of the actual finished parts that
Yes,
was sent
yes,
out?
yes, yes.
From looking at it, it's obvious the dial rotates.
Mhm.
Is that like a smooth spin, or is it like a
It's a
clicky feeling? How
it's a
does that
very
feel?
smooth spin, but I was really unsure about how to show that smooth spin in a picture. But I think in a video, I think it's pretty much achievable. But yeah, it's a very smooth spin with a gasket underneath to prevent the friction of the bearings, and even the slide is a very smooth.
So this is a slider
Yes,
down below.
yes.
Interesting. Yeah, so I thought it does immediately look like a slider, but generally, I think what makes this different is that you normally don't see the part that you actually slide larger than the recess that it's in.
Right.
So it kind of confused me. Like, does this actually slide in? Because obviously it doesn't look like it fits
Right,
inside. But
right.
then now you explained it to me. It looks like it hovers above,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
kind of like a puck that sits above the surface.
Yes,
Very cool.
yes. Yeah.
I think that's actually a very unique idea because what I've generally been accustomed to. I'm a consumer electronics designer, and so the slider usually
Yes.
lives inside of the recess. Yeah, I think it's a very cool idea, and I might steal that one. Very cool. Okay, so then now it looks like it jumps into packaging design. And so these look like soap bottles, dispensers type of products.
Yeah.
These are professional products that are sold on the market at the moment.
Not sure about whether are they sold on the market right now, but definitely they have moved on to the production phase. People did like
Hmm.
this was during my Karim Rashid internship. The team
Hmm.
really liked the design approach towards it. I wanted to, get inspired, get soaked into what's Karim's design language is, how he's plays with the forms, colors, and stuff. And I, applied myself into that style and started designing this. And yeah, I think this is one of the projects that I am really happy about the way it turned out to be.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, it turned out really nice. I think you rendered it very well. Uh, Color material finish is obviously a very important factor to this, and you have like the speckle kind of recycled type of plastic
absolutely.
material look to it. So I think just the combination of the gradient and the colors and the materials, translucency, opaque plastics, and the interesting things that you've done to it with the logos and the graphics, it makes
Hmm.
all of this look very pleasing and interesting to look at.
Thank you.
So out of all of these type of categories, from the phone CMF to the pen to the shoe, if you were to find yourself at a company that only designed one of these things, is there any preference on what kind of category you would like to just explore deeper?
Yes, Jamie. So it's always been a dream for me to work with Google hardwares because I find their hardwares to be quite invisible in spaces. They consider about the space that lives in. So I think I would probably get into the consumer hardware, like the Google Nest, Google Pixels,
Hmm.
uh, Google earbuds, Google watches. I really
Hmm.
love the. I mean, people have polarized opinion about the way it functions and stuff, but I think in terms of how it looks,
I do have the Google Nest, I think it's what it's called. It's essentially their mesh router. And they kind of just look like a very round, kind of very pleasant looking artifact that you place kind of like anywhere in your house, and it more looks like a decorative type of home goods product than an actual consumer electronics type of product. And so I think being invisible that's around the house, I think was a really great way to put it. So this portfolio piece here looks like to me screams teenage engineering. It looks like the very similar style to them. Is that something that you try to do with this project here?
it is absolutely a homage to teenage engineering. So I was inspired by the teenage engineering boom that was happening around. So I was just doing some study about what they designs, how they did their products, and I was fascinated by how they expose all the features that other companies were hiding, right? And they exposed it very beautifully. Say buttons, say the
Hmm.
screws, the tactile quality of it, all of it. I really loved. So I thought, let me, come up with a headphone.
So I imagine this was more of a styling type of project for yourself.
More like a concept, like a yeah, concept. How do you call it? I don't know. Do you call
Hmm.
it styling? I don't know what you mean by styling.
Meaning, yeah, so concept styling, you thought about what if teenage engineering would make a headset? What could that
Yeah.
potentially look like?
Yes. Yes.
And applying their design language onto a headset, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that if I were to just adjust a couple of things, I think this yoke, so
Hmm.
the metal bar that wraps around and
Hmm.
holds onto the ear cups themselves, I think it needs to be a little bit longer because if you see here, it
Right.
essentially
It's
is running right into
got
the
it.
the um, ear cushion,
Yes.
and then it would be a big. I imagine the ear cushion is soft, so it could
Yeah.
probably just flip over it with no problem. But the issue is with the opposite side, which is a hard, I imagine
That,
probably aluminum metal type of piece, and so it'll run into that. It'll cause marring and stuff like
mm,
that. So just making that look a little bit, giving it a little bit more clearance, would look like it actually is more functional.
mhm.
Also, I think that this slider here looks a little too close to the actual part where the yoke is connected to. So
Yeah.
just with that very minimal gap there, and generally, there's mechanics and electronics that are underneath a slider, and so and at the same time, the yoke and the part that it pivots on. So you usually want to just give a little bit more space with these two elements.
Hmm.
And I think since they are so close together, it looks like the center line of where the yoke attaches to isn't quite centered
Mm,
to the pill-shaped slider. It just looks the slider looks ever so slightly to the left.
right.
So these are the things that you want to make sure that you nail it, get it just right, because since it is a conceptual project,
Hmm.
you just want to make sure that it looks right, because the dead giveaway with conceptual styling type of project is that you have this idea and you want to build the idea, but then it doesn't generally go through the phases of iteration and fine tuning, because it really doesn't need to be right. But
Right.
to take it to the next level, these are the minor little things that you really fine tune to get it just right, to where it gets it from, hey, this is a concept, to, hey, did teenage engineering actually make this? Is
Right.
this something that I could buy right now? So that's
Right.
kind of the illusion that you want to give when you create some of these conceptual kind of projects. And you took it to a very far level. Like, generally, when I do that, I just have one single shot
Mm,
that I post on Instagram, and I don't ever usually make a full portfolio based on that.
mhm.
But you've taken it to as far as almost potentially a real product with all of these different angles and renders
Mhm.
and finished looking renders. And so if you did take it that far, you should might as well take it a step further, which is really fine tuning some of these little things. Give that illusion that when somebody looks at this, they're like, wow, I didn't know teenage engineering made a headset. A lot of the viewers are students,
Mhm.
and some of them are either considering going to industrial design, or they're currently in industrial design school, or they're recently graduated. So you've been in the field for 4 or 5 years now almost. How are you feeling about it now? Did you think that you still picked the career path that it always seemed to be?
Not at all, Jimmy. So I was very clear in my mind when I chose, and that's why I chose a technical program rather than a professional program. Whereas professional program, you have at least a year to understand what you wanted to do, right? So this technical program didn't have the chance. You had to make up your mind and get into the design, which was a little skeptical idea back then, but then no regrets. I'm really enjoying the process. I'm really enjoying my work. As a designer, you must always encounter yourself into other aspects of design, be it graphic design, UI, UX, space design. That'll bring a holistic approach towards design, is what I feel, to become a better designer.
I know that also when you consider industrial design, sometimes it's more of an unknown field. Not a lot of people know what it is, especially parents. So when you said you were going to pursue industrial design as a career, what did your parents think?
So I was pretty much into art right from when I was 6 years old, right? So my dad, my mom gave me enough freedom to, pursue my creative career. They didn't have any questions about me pursuing design. They only had a question about what kind of design I'm going to choose. That was the only question, and I think I kind of explained them what this design field is about, what I'm going to be as a designer if I get into industrial design. And they were pretty much okay about it. And that sounds more like a mechanical engineer as well, right? So they were pretty much happy about it. It was more like a white collar job.
What is it like in India when it comes to industrial design? Is it pretty popular there? Are there a lot of opportunities? And is it something that you have to travel far to go to work every day, or is it pretty local to where you're currently living?
I would say it's picking up, Jimmy. So it isn't like how UK is for design or US is for design, but India is picking up design In the next 5 years, I think it will reach the place where how UK, US are doing with designs. When it comes to opportunities, yes, uh, it's quite little hard for industrial design at least to find jobs. Whereas UI UX is booming, right? So I would say it's a little hard for industrial designers here in Bangalore. But if you go up the north, where the industry facilities are available, it's quite open. So they set up their own factories, their own headquarters right next to the vendor places, the manufacturing units, which makes the people living there more easier. Whereas I had to, deny few opportunities where I had to travel to the north part of the India to leave my family behind. So I live with a single mom, so I'll have to leave my family behind and go. So I had to deny some opportunities and to struggle to find a decent opportunity here in Bangalore.
So, what was it like for you when you just graduated? Was it kind of difficult for you to find a job?
So, Jimmy, I graduated during the peak COVID, right? So, I didn't get into a firm that I wanted to get in. Nevertheless, I did enjoy the company because it was an architecture studio which had a legacy of 30 years. I ended up being their first product designer and a creative visualizer and a creative, almost like a creative director role because I was the only one who was a product designer. We're designing furniture, lights, and custom installations into the spaces. So that I got it through the help of my faculty.
Let's talk a little bit about money. So, when you first graduated, landed that first job, and you got that pay that you did, how does that kind of compare to something like mechanical engineering, which you did mention? It was very similar, yet also artistic at the same time. So, if you were to pursue mechanical engineer in India versus industrial design, does the salary ranges that you've heard of are similar?
I was underpaid. I was completely underpaid in my first job. It was just feeding me for my breads and paying my bills. Um, Whereas if you were looking at an ideal comparison between industrial design pay and a mechanical engineer pay, I think there's about a 20% of difference. I think industrial designers are earning 20% more than mechanical engineers with for the same experience.
How were you able to land that new position?
As a designer, I always wanted to, move out of the country because I feel design must be pursued in either US or UK. That was my mentality. I don't know if that would change, but that was my mentality, and I still believe I wanted to, work in US or UK. Right now, like a 6 months from now, I'm unable to travel from the country. So I found a place here in Bangalore. I reached out to them, applied. Um, and then they liked my work. They called out for an interview, and they had a very positive outlook from me. And then they gave me an exercise to complete just to check my design skills and stuff. I did that as well, and they had a very good response to that as well. And then there was another round of HR discussion discussing the packages, and then yeah, I'm in.
With this new job, I imagine you probably negotiated your salary higher than what you were paid at your previous job.
I was negotiating the salary and the company. So the tragedy is the company already hired an industrial designer, and then I happened to apply for this role. However, they still liked my work. The co-founder still liked my work, and they still looked me in. They wanted to check whether am I still going to be as impressive as my portfolio, right? So and then they had the interview, and they had to offer me this role along because they already had the vacancy that's been fulfilled. So they had to allot some budget out of their company to pay me. So in that case, I didn't get the salary that I expected. I did during the negotiation part.
And was it difficult for you to land this new job? Were you looking for a long time before you could finally get something that you were interested in, or is the industrial design industry pretty booming out there?
I wouldn't tell it was easy, but I would probably say it was uh, more process oriented. I didn't expected it to have so many processes, right? Because my previous companies didn't have so many processes. The previous company was a startup. I was hired on the day one. On the day one of interview, I was like, you can start working from today. And
Hmm.
with the previous company as well, I didn't have any other interviews. Whereas here I had to pass through so many interviews, which was very new to me,
Hmm.
and also it was a little overwhelming experience, right? Probably I'm doing it for the first time. That's why. Otherwise, I think there is a boom in this field. There is a boom in this field. I see a lot of openings every day on LinkedIn. That I'm notified about.
With these portfolio pieces, did you specifically build them to land your next job?
So I built them for to land in the next job. I built it for the to land in the next job, and I feel I should start building a website now so that it's easy for me to update my works.
Yo, yo, designers, hope you enjoyed that episode of Portfolio Pinup. I want to keep this going, so if you want to be able to be on the next episode of Portfolio Pinup, get feedback from me, go ahead and shoot me an email. The link should be down below in the description. I'd really love to hear from you, so have your portfolio ready and we could figure out the details from there. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next episode. Peace.